right? You're trying to get into that center. You've got Trample from Primal Beast and Pulse Nova from Leshrac just all over the ground. It's not really a scenario any of the heroes that they have right now are going to want to be in. The Mars is the tankiest one they have, and even he's going to have trouble surviving that, as SG will go in for the Rubik again. So the Lesh and the Rubik both making returns, and to be honest, LTH, he played a pretty spectacular Rubik game
Lena?
in the previous match, as they do go for the Scourge Bristle. So, well, ET, it's their last game. They need a win. Their backs are against the wall. They're going to go with the old faithful for Scourge.
Yeah, he's gonna try to hog it up, and I hope that they're not going to miss out on that Lena pick that I think would have felt pretty good for them. And we saw yesterday, Lena versus Leshrac is still very Lena favored. You just kill him when he tries to run in,
There she
and now you
goes.
don't get Lena because Lena's been banned out. So I hope that this isn't something that's going to end up biting them. But yeah, no, that was the obvious pickup, and for a very good reason. Of course, Lena versus Primal Beast was maybe something the cut we're thinking about there, because that does sound like a pretty dead Lena if you're ever able to close that gap. But if you were able to keep those heroes at arm's length, I feel like that makes Leshrac's game almost unplayable. But that's why it's banned out. That's why they're not allowed to it. And that's why we're going to have to see a lot from Scourge McDuck's Bristleback. And we get to see how his lane is actually going to pan out versus the Primal Beast. If the Nasal Goo is perhaps enough for him to slow and run away, where maybe the Primal Beast can't close the gap. A lot of maybes in that sentiment, but we'll have to see, because, again, Primal Beast does just punish you anytime you do make a mistake in the lanes. Just still does a little too much damage, but that's also where two differing paths here. The cut need Nico's hero. SG need a Yuma hero for sure, and we'll have to see what that ends up being, because right now, I feel like versus Bristleback, Weaver's still in the pool. You could look at a hero like the Terrorblade. I think anything sounds pretty all right. Just something that's going to be obnoxious. And of course, versus Dark Willow, you've got no hard stun really on the cut. Weaver's probably the easy one that they go for.
Hmm. Yeah, not onto the PA there, so okay. High damage output, and I suppose with the Bristleback, you're maybe a little bit afraid of the Fan of Knives out from the PA too. That could kind of sap away a lot of your durability. So ban it away, but now let's see. What is the call gonna be from Yuma? Does he just take something like the TB, like you said, hard farming illusion carry? Do they look for something a little more fight oriented like the Weaver? They do have options. I will say the Weaver leaves them a lot less durable with this lineup, but Primal Beast and Lesh presumably are going to be able to sort of pick up the slack on that front in terms of frontline fighters.
Yeah, and kind of racking my brain because I don't know. You want somebody that eventually builds up Scotty. You want somebody that could build into perhaps just simply the Silver Edge, and they do go for Luna.
Okay,
Okay,
does
I was
fit the
thinking,
bill.
because they took a while. Is that going to be like your Drow Ranger again, Weaver type heroes? And they do go for something that's maybe a little bit more committal. Of course, Luna has no inherent escape. You've got no natural dispel. You have to work for every item, but you're a carry with mixed damage. You have a lot of magic coming from your ulti. You've got a lot of physical DPS as well. Of course, you're playing versus a Bristleback, so maybe there are going to be some problems down the line, but it's a carry that I think can fight versus the Ag's timing on Bristle, which is kind of slim. You don't have a lot of carries that can actually do that, but that's where if you do get that BKB, and Scourge will be getting BKB probably second item after it, then you might have some issues, because everybody on the lineup right now is relatively low armor, is not too tanky. Everybody's got a lot of meat. They've got a lot of HP, but they could get kind of peeled through with the physical damage. I think that's something that is going to have to be a worry from, at least, and maybe we'll see it itemization wise, because SG can become fragile if those fights drag on too long. And Ember Spirit, yep, another hero that they love pairing with their Bristleback for that exact same reason. You get those goose stacks up, you get that minus armor, then that Sleight of Fist just hurts a little bit more, and then you start to have a few problems here and there. But that's also where they do draft it into a very interesting lane. Don't get to see the Leshrac versus Ember really at all, but I think that's where we're going to see that lane a little bit more, just again with the Bloodstone changes, so that hero is a little bit more pickable. But a very skill-based lane. You have to
Mm-hmm.
dodge the Split Earth out. If KXY connects a few too many times, you start to really start losing trades, and then that doesn't become an Ember 50-50 draw lane. It starts to become a Leshrac favored lane. Not to mention, if KXY starts and begins to play maybe a little bit more conventionally on his hero this time around, anytime the Ember Spirit exits the lane, your tower will eat damage from that edict. So we'll have to see Nico ride that same line that he did last game, which kind of worked out because KXY was just rotating like a madman. But this time around, anytime that Ember Spirit does go, your tower is probably just going to die.
Right. And we'll see as well for Nico um, how he looks to approach this in terms of the skill build, how many points he wants to try and get away with putting into Flame Guard maybe if he does feel like that damage is a little bit too threatening for him. Because it will absorb a little bit, but then it takes your own damage and makes it significantly lower without the maxed Sleight of Fist. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll be risky. Maybe he feels he won't need more than maybe just the 1 or 2 points in it like we normally see. And at that point, you're free to sort of make rotations elsewhere on the map when you hit 6.
Yeah, and we will have to see because a part of me thinks that okay, the cut they've got a lot of anti-armor, they've got a lot of good damage and control in that regard, but that's also where this is arena is going to be so crucial for them. And if you're not getting heroes in that arena, the game can kind of blow up in their face. And really, all of that damage is going to have to come out from the cores. We know what Mars can do, but Mars, as we always talk about, hits that 15, 16-minute mark where you're full strength, and then 5 minutes later, you're struggling to get your own solo kills. And that's where the Hand of God, the Bloodstone, the pseudo ways that you're going to be able to heal from SG, if they survive your initiation and start to consistently survive, that's where that snowball starts rolling. And well, the cut, they can't really afford to ever lose a fight on their own soil, because as soon as they do, it's Leshrac, it's Luna, your tier 3 breaks open, and then suddenly I feel like you can't defend the racks.
Well, here we go. Voice lines being spammed out, but final game of the group stage here for both of these squads, and as we outlined earlier, well, the cut need a win. 1 win and they're into the upper bracket. No win, and we start looking to those tiebreakers, which, ET, we don't know exactly who's going to be in the tiebreak scenarios just yet, but regardless, it's going to be messy, and it's much easier to just win this match and lock yourself in, as little Nick asking for a little bit of mercy here. You know, asking if maybe SG will go easy on them. Probably not, but, you know, it's worth asking.
Well, and we'll see, because if they do end up going winless here, maybe it's not the cut that need to be worried, but 5-rat force staff, because the cut did 2-0 them. So if both of these teams end up on the chopping block after we see a Wolf team play, and of course that's the next team that can make that alley-oop, well, the cut do beat that team specifically in that 1v1. So that's where the Rats might have a sad bracket to look at the end of the day. But again, we'll see. Nothing confirmed either. Every tournament's a little bit different, but cut definitely just want to win. Keep things simple.
Yeah, that is the simplest and most straightforward outcome for the cut. Win and you are in. It does not get any simpler than that, but see if they can do it. They've got some well, I think maybe slightly better lanes this time around than what they ended up working with in game 1. So it will be a bit of a mix-up, though, from what I had originally been expecting. This is Moose down in the bottom lane, laning with the Bristleback, so I thought this was going to be the CM to try and deal with the Primal Beast. That's not the case so far.
Yeah, no, and it's an interesting swap-up, one that I don't really understand. I guess maybe they just want a little bit more magic damage, and of course, the real reason is they want Pingu versus Prada. They want the Frostbite of the Chen creep, but I don't know. We'll have to see, because in addition to that, they've also put Pingu kind of at risk here because he wasn't able to get up towards top until the lane had already begun. So that medium camp is actually able to spawn. So, of course, Prada can't take it just yet, but he's getting good control of his camps, which is not what you want to see. And you will be able to answer those creeps, at least for the early stages with Frostbite. But it's where there is that teeter point where suddenly the CM isn't able to Frostbite everything down.
And yeah, putting Pingu in this lane gives you a little bit more advancer to Prada. It makes the combo with the Mars, I think, slightly easier to hit up on compared to the Willow as well. Although, I don't know. If your Dark Willow has Curse Crown, then, you know, you do have that double stun. But just trying to play the matchups here a little bit for the cut. We'll have to see if this actually pays off for them. If nothing else, Nick should at least still just focus on the farm. Even if there is 0 aggressive moves out of him and Pingu, just try and find your own, try and get that level 6 quickly, and for the most part, if you can, just kind of ignore Yuma, because the Luna's not going to care to fight here. This is all about farm at this point.
Yeah, and Yuma will be able to farm very nicely. Of course, has a little bit more damage to play with because of the Lunar Blessing. Nick should be able, though, to be annoying for a lot of these last hits, especially ranged denies and creeps like that. But we will have to see because you get a few levels, and then, again, you just always go up for damage. Not a kill lane, though, that we sometimes see for Lunas because Prada is, just the Chen. Maybe at level 5, but until then, it is just going to be farming and pulling.
And we see over in the middle lane, Nico has opted for those 2 points in the Flame Guard, so he is maybe anticipating a little bit of that Lightning Storm spam out onto him, and, well, this is what we were saying. This does make things a little bit interesting, because if you have more points in the Flame Guard, obviously, your own damage takes a bit of a dive. As speaking of dives, Yuma is actually getting jumped under his tower. Pingu, he popped a mango, but didn't have the range to cast anything, so said before, Yuma's going to sort of ignore them and try to farm, but if they force the fight, we'll see. I don't believe Yuma's going to get baited into a second point in the Lucent Beam, and yeah, he does put the second in the Lunar Blessing right now, but there's going to be the root, and there's going to be a pause.
Yeah, that's
a little bit awkward. I don't think, even if he turned around for the spear now, he doesn't have the angle for it, but Pingu's playing up, and Frostbite, even level 1, it's not a crazy long route, but it would be enough for the spear to come through the next time around.
Yeah, and it is good magic damage-wise, but sadly, this is the problem of not getting control of that medium camp that we always see, because this Ogre Frostmage is actually just going to make Yuma's life so much easier. It actually just turns Pingu's right-clicks into pretty much non-factors and rebuke damage into really just kind of rebuke harass. I don't know. I feel like this creep has just already kind of won this lane here for Yuma. It's that strong of a creep. Frost armor is nothing to mess with.
Get 5 more armor, move slow, attack slow. For how long? For 5 seconds? Yeah, that's unplayable if you're the cut. They have to, I mean, they have to basically do it with the spear combo, right? Because if they try to right-click it down, it's just not going to happen.
No, it's just got crazy uptime. It's where you can put it on both the heroes. You can put it on the creep itself. It doesn't really run out of mana either. If he feels like it's gonna run out of mana, you just get a Basilius.
What?
5-2.
Yuma, you are a goddamn liar. Moose asked him his CS. He says 5-2. he's at 13-2 right now, so I'm not sure what game he's playing. Unless we're talking about something different.
Oh, look at that. Kim's padding his stats too, yeah.
You liars. Can't believe you.
You see, this is what they call dramatic irony. But ex-teammates, whatever, they both actually still have the infinity tag, so, stand-in situation.
Yeah, technically
Funny to see
between Yuma, Kim, and Prada, there are more players tagged up as infinity as SG in some of these situations, I think. So looks like we're ready to go. Still not sure what the pause was actually for. Might have missed the reasoning, but who cares? We're back into the game. Let's see how this one plays out. Yuma, well, he's got some tango still. Should be healing up just fine. Pingu is going to go in for the root, but they don't have the angle for a spear stun, so yeah. He should be just fine.
Yeah, and that's also where once Yuma gets a range up coming to him, well, anything that Pingu's going to do is going to be, halved effectively. But until then, just the farm. But yep, bottom, it's the Primal Beast lane. We all know it's coming. It's inevitable. And of course, doesn't even get the Shadow Realm off in that situation. Just too much damage.
And the little particles when he's got Quill Spray on him kind of trail behind him. Looks very funky, but Oscar does get first blood. It is worth noting Scourge was able to pick up a return kill there afterwards, but first blood bonus gold does go the Primal Beast's way. He's about to hit level 4 as well, so he'll have the Onslaught to work with, and that's when things get a little bit scarier in this safe lane for the cut.
As it always does. It always comes up, sneaks up behind you. And we'll see, because I didn't get to see that engagement as well, and I was wondering if it does actually pop any of those bristleback backs, and It actually does, so you do have to be careful, I think, when you do actually go onto him. Just make sure you don't have too many clothes, but is that a solo kill?
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
hits level 6 beforehand, and when I say hits level 6 beforehand, he's
Oh,
barely level 5 on the Ember Spirit. KXY has just kind of really trailed away in this lane, and, well, the Ember hasn't left. The Ember's just dead. 3 points up in Edict. He doesn't get to press it now, but there's no glyph. He already forced out everything. KXY has huge opportunities in this lane, and
oh,
supports are coming.
oh no.
Uh-oh.
Do they go in on him again? LTH, there's
Big
going to be the
glyph.
telekinesis. KXY is kind of out of mana at this point, though, so it is time to back, but Bramble Maze roots him up. Nico, though, he's not 6. He can't go back in. Oh, boy. Almost rough there. If LTH had actually made that punish work, then that would have just been the lane over for the Ember. At least now he's got a chance to recover, but he still had to bring over Kim here on the Dark Willow, so he's out of lane for a little bit. That means Scourge is alone, and Oscar can't really kill him right now, but that also means Oscar's free to farm up just as easily until the supports come back.
Yeah. And we'll simmer down slightly, but here we go. 6-minute runes. And actually, the cut are a little bit more ready for you, but oh, Pingu got scared off. Didn't want to give his life to the Leshrac, I suppose, but in doing so, KXY gets an arcane rune now. Probably the best rune on that hero, and with
Here's
it,
the
he actually just
TP.
TP's bottom. Okay, KXY. Onslaught's there. All they need to do is connect and Scourge. Oh, he doesn't know. Well,
They don't even need to stun him. They just don't bother. They just go in with the straight damage. They find the kill, and now this tower is going to get hit up as well. Did they see... I don't think they actually did. The Dark Willow is able to just sort of skirt around there and get away, but now this is a full creep wave. This is a siege creep wave too, and KXY is still here with maxed out Edict. Although now he sees Kim. It is time to go, but he's not going to make it out. Onslaught still hits even if you're in that Shadow Realm, but Nico and Pingu, they've come in, and KXY doesn't have a lot of health or mana, so they have to try and get him out of here. Can Pingu catch up? Does not look like he can. In the meantime, Oscar trying to make his escape here as well, but I think they're going to be able to track him down. He does have some wand charges, so he could make this difficult, but not enough at the end of the day.
no. Pretty nicely played as well as just having the Remnant back. Gets his bottle filled up by the Dark Willow, so immediately back on the defensive to try and hold this mid tower. Oh, he's standing in the spot. Yeah. Very obnoxious, but dodges the Earth Splitter, but this mid tower, yeah. Deny? Nope.
Okay, XY gets his target. That's a bit of a risky play, though, because if they don't see him in the lane, everyone kind of knows where that spot is, and he didn't have a lot of health, but you're still pushing into maxed out Edict, so you could very well lose a pretty sizable portion of your own HP before you even get onto the Leshrac, but it's a risk that pays off. SG claimed the tower. They did not get the tier 1 down bot, however. They came pretty close to it, but still with about 250 health remaining. But if SG can claim both of those early objectives, then they're going to be just kind of strolling their way across the map, and the cut really can't afford to let that happen right now, because the Bristle hasn't left his lane yet. He's still farming well there, but eventually he's going to have to rotate into the jungle, and we would like for him to, not get ganked continuously while he does that.
Yeah, and we will have to see how they do it, because funnily enough, even though it's a 2k gold lead for SG, all of the cores in this game are just really farmed. Nobody's really missed their mark. I think maybe for that mid tower defense, if Nick was a little bit higher level, then he probably would have wanted to TP there, as, ooh, Yuma, so low. Not dead, but trying, it feels like. All it takes is a random crit, and then he could probably die, but trying to be as greedy as he possibly can while he waits for a probably just either a Morbid Mask or even just a Possessed Mask to get dropped here, but I think he got unlucky. Still hunting for it.
Now, he might just have to go back to base. Didn't drop for him, didn't get what he wanted, so he is going to back off. His teammates, though, will get that tower down bot. KXY, time for a trip back to base as well, because there's only so much regen that you can have on you before you have to go back, but there's both of those towers gone, so all of a sudden, the Southside Jungle ET becomes very, very risky for the cut to operate in, and at the moment, if you're the cut, what are you looking for? Who is the playmaker? Because the Ember, I guess, now has his remnants up, but we're still a long ways away from Nick having a Blink Dagger, so who has to be the guy right now?
Well, really, it is Nico, but unfortunately, without a rune, he just doesn't have enough damage to make anything happen. So we might just see them wait all the way for that blink, and it should be like a 15, 16-minute blink, but, well, that's a sad gank. Trying to gank the Luna at nighttime just doesn't pan out. Meanwhile, Nick does try to run down the Chen, and we'll get a good number of these creeps. Should be able to... Oh, no, the double
Oh,
heal.
chain
Incredible.
healing. That is something.
Well, I guess it just works. Sure. Doesn't get the every single creep. Was able to mop up something, but 10-minute carts should see this map open up a little bit more here. But bottom, Oscar getting punished, and well, Nico says, "Well, that's a kill, just thrown into my lap."
Yeah, tries for some damage onto Kim and might bring him down with one more hit.
Oh,
Okay.
and a god. Making
KXY's
this
coming
really
in, though.
hard.
Hold on. Oscar's not going to go down just yet to get the stun onto Nico. He's going to onslaught back in, and Nico's the one who dies. Oscar has to go down. Yeah, someone will finish him. But the cost... Oh, God, that's a buyback. Nico jumps to his remnant.
No.
KXY, though... Can KXY win this? No, he can't. Okay, Nico. I see you. Buy back into maybe 2 kills if LTH is going to get run down here, which he eventually will. That buyback works out pretty damn nicely.
Oh, Prada almost saved the game there. He canceled Nick's TP with a Mud Golem. He was just TPing underneath the tier 1, so that would have not been close in the slightest if the Mars is actually able to connect there, but thankfully Nico can do that, because if he diebacks there and loses to that duo, the Cutter having a stern talking to after that play, but thankfully it all works out for him, because you needed to get something out of there. That was a pretty dire straits, but also, man, this Primal Beast hero can just make it all happen. What a thing. And top, Nick, well.
Trample. Does he have a spear? No, he doesn't, so he is just dead.
One
hold
shot.
on a second. Onslaught timer, 6 seconds away. Looking for a cutoff angle. He's going to get knocked back. Scourge comes in, and he's just going to charge for it. Onslaught is in there. At the same time, though, Yuma was caught out in the east side jungle farming, so they do turn that into a pretty spectacular trade. They're stealing the stack.
Stolen Pingu. That was a good 4 or 5 stack as well, and I think they did get to farm at the large camp before. The Leshrac might even have taken it, but the Luna was going for the Ancients and got punished. Really nice play.
Okay, that's a freebie. So able to stand on the ramp and have a kill come right to him. But the loss of Yuma there is kind of brutal. That's his first death, and this is a Luna that has been exclusively farming. No kills, no assists, no participation other than hitting on creeps, and he goes right back to it. It's not like you're really going to slow him down all that much, but killing him and taking away the stack means that this Luna is still in a manageable position instead of at the top of the net worth chart.
Yeah, for sure. They did get robbed, so it feels pretty nice as the onslaught gets Oscar out of top. But what a bit of a skirmish near the wards here. Pingu's trying to make space, and LTH is just sitting there. And he actually stole, okay, the freezing field, and now you gotta run.
Oh, he actually cancels his own freezing field to get the telekinesis, but that sets KXY up for the stun. You're able to get away with the Ember, but Pingu does have to be sacrificed.
Yeah, just a little bit too far, a little bit too messy, but hey, you know, you do what you gotta do. But we'll see, because Blink Dagger, I think, is coming out to Nick now, so you probably want a daytime smoke here for the cut. They would love to get some vision down as well, because right now they really only have that one slightly deep ward, and any play again that this Mars will be able to complete will just give space over to Scourge, who isn't getting the fastest ags I've ever seen him build up, but is something. And with Pingu TPing in, there's your smoke. They would love to either connect on a KXY and burst him mid into pushing that tier 1 tower, or look for the Luna, but there is a Primal Beast already set up here, so gotta be very careful. They would love to, and they got him.
There's the jump, the spear stuns in. Oscar's going to try to charge and create a distraction, but he charges into the wall of the arena. And, well, KXY and LTH are both dead. Pulverize does come through, but if Yuma doesn't want to fight this, then there's no reinforcements, and he absolutely doesn't want to be in here. So Oscar is by himself. Spear stun, locks him to the tree. Yuma is going to pull the trigger, but now it's too late. If you wanted to go, Yuma, you had to go earlier. Now he's just trying to find something. Nick, spear stun, locks down Prada. Now that's terrible for Yuma. He goes into the fight, he uses his ult, he gets nothing. and they lose 4 heroes, really. And tower should go down now as well.
Well, they will glyph it, and
Okay.
Leshrak's coming in hot, but they see his TP actually. Oh, does
Spear.
he just die instantly? He has the Pulse Nova going. They got to be careful.
First crown those on him, so he is going to get stunned up again right in the middle of all these heroes, and he's taken down again.
Well, that's fantastic. And now Scourge shows up just to make sure that his tower dies. LTH has
LTH.
to lift and throw him away.
Is he actually...
Perfect stuff.
Okay, he's going to get out, but that's mostly because the cut don't care about him. They get the tower instead, but that's now 5 kills, 2 on the Leshrac. And a tier 1 tower. And that Lesh, I don't know. A TP a little bit further back might have been able to avoid that. And you look at his item build, ET. Last time he got the Kaya, then went in for the Bloodstone before finishing the Kaya Sanj. This time Kaya Sanj comes first. What do you think about the choice in terms of the order?
I still think you should be rushing the Bloodstone, but I understand you're just giving yourself more casual mana when you're running around the map, which is something that the hero does need, but he just isn't very survivable. He just dies pretty easily, and okay. Well, Kim just dies in his own Shadow Realm, because, yeah, Primal Beast will do that, but the Cut have just fixed a lot of their issues with that one team fight. Now you're only 500 gold away from the Bristleback Ags, and then, of course, you immediately walk into the pit and force your opponents to either come and contest you or say what's up, but a little bit of fighting. Rune, yeah, runs away.
I do want to say, I like this build from Nico too, right? This is just kind of the fight build a little bit. Got the Maelstrom looking for a BKB right after. BKB also being worked on by the Mars. So they're going to hit a timing that's really going to allow them to take these engagements in the mid-game. Whereas SG, well, not really quite as sure, as Nick is going to make his move. There's the Spear Stun onto KXY. They cannot afford to lose him again. Going to try and heal him up with the Mech Hand of God comes through as well. So KXY for now, he's going to be able to get away. He did get clipped by the Fear, though, so he runs into the Bramble Root. But they still can't quite catch up to him. So SG, oh god, they do more than survive, ET. They're going to smoke and try to reinitiate right as the Cutter's starting to split up. This is getting very dicey. They're going to drop some vision down here, too. They would love to get onto Nico. They're going to hit him up. There's the first stun. There's the Pulverize. The Spear, though, will cancel it. But the Fade Bolt from LTH is there to get the job done. And that's a bold move, but they recognize, you know, we didn't actually lose too many heroes, even though we didn't take the fight we wanted before. So they just smoke up. They go in again, and now they're into the Roche Pit. And, well, that Ember Spirit, if you'll remember, did buy back earlier. So this death timer is a little bit hefty, and he has no way back in.
Oh, and they're going in. Oh,
Scourge's
no.
gonna get hit. The Eclipse is entirely onto him. Oh, this is a disaster. They've lost 2 cores. Everyone just needs to run. Nick is gonna try and stay close enough to maybe blink in there, but there's just no play to make.
No, they need the vision from the Crystal
Oh, he's
Nova.
gonna do it.
He's in.
Can he do anything? No, Pulverize is gonna lock him down. Pingu's trying to channel out a freezing field here, and it's doing a lot of damage. Actually, it's not. I lied to you. It's doing a little bit of damage to, like, 4 different people.
Yeah, no, it just wasn't able. If he had the arena, maybe he's actually able to keep them around long enough for Pingu to get some kills there, but yeah, just isn't enough. Great forcing move, just really quick decision making again from SG, and then just veering a little bit too close, just not letting, I think, Nick baiting him. And there you go.
Nico, are you sure about this? Yeah, he's in trouble. There's going to be the root. Pulverize, telekinesis forces him back, and he won't be punished, but he sure as hell can't find any kills there. And do they want to try this? I don't know if they have the firepower to really go onto Scourge at this point, and it looks like Oster's going to decide against it.
Yeah, without Eclipse and without KXY, just feels a little bit too difficult. But that's where I do think that the Cut need to kind of wait now. They can't really smoke until it's daytime. They instead should just play around their high ground wards, finish up these BKBs, and then they can make a team fight happen. But that's where, especially for Scourge, he needs it, because he will just die in that exact same fashion, and then you don't get that super long team fight. You don't get that 5-6 stacks of goo in an AoE where the Ember Spirit just starts tearing through with the Slight. It just doesn't happen. And now they're getting on the aggressive again, and there is a 4-man unit down here finishing off this tier 2 bottom, but with the high ground ward, I don't know. Break on the outpost. They could find the supports, though.
They do see KXY first. They're going to try to hit him up with a spear, but now Oscar comes in. BKB active. Pulverize in onto Scourge, preventing him from doing his max damage. In fact, he actually has to kind of back off right now, which means the other two cores are just stuck in the middle of the fight. They're going to lose one as Nick goes down. Can Nico somehow jump away? Trying to get over to his Remnant. He does make it out, but right into Yuma, who's going to shut this down with the Eclipse. And whoever's still alive, once again, has to run. Kim, how far can he make it, though? That Bramble is slowing Yuma down. And actually, he doesn't have
TP.
Doesn't have any mana, so yeah, so he should, yep, just go for the TP home. He makes it away. Scourge gets out as well, but you did have to sacrifice quite a bit there. I suppose it's a 3-for-3 overall, so the cut will get something for their trouble, but it's just not a definitive teamfight win for them.
Yeah, and you still lost quite a bit of gold on the cores, whereas really the one who got the most money there was actually Pingu on the CM, but that's where Yuma is happy, because he got the kills. He got to kill the Ember Spirit. No streaks or anything, so no flip-flop, but I think, is that a full BKB? Yeah. Luna's getting more and more problematic for you, and that's also where KXY, I think, finally has his Bloodstone. Maybe just 100 or one more creep wave, and then that'll be it, and then I don't know, that previous fight was close just because KXY was losing all of his mana, but now with the Bloodstone, if you don't get him first, well, him and Oscar are kind of just carrying these team fights. That was also a fight that broke out where Yuma only was able to come in at the end there. If he was there just from the start, I don't want to imagine what that looked like for the cut, because again, BKBs need to be finished. They really do need to take a step back right now. If they do, they also get to kind of time out this Aegis from Yuma, but that's also where, with the Leshrac, you're just so efficient with your time. You just use this Aegis, you're the battering ram, you're in onto these tier 2s. So many trend creeps as well. So many useful ones too. And they will probably just be able to steamroll this one as well. Can't afford to use their glyph right now. They do, they just go up high ground, but here we go. They probably have to glyph the edict at least once, but I also kind of want to bait out and bide their time, but there's no reason for them to leave right now. They're just going to walk in with the next creep wave.
Spear back onto Yuma, though. Okay.
But Nick's dead.
Can they get his Aegis? Yes, they can, but yeah, Nick does have to sacrifice himself. There's a buyback available, though, on that Mars, so he can rejoin the fight. At the same time, KXY activates the Bloodstone, trying to heal up. There's that buyback coming into play, and now the Terrorize coming in. They kind of have BKBs going already, but KXY starting to drop row. Lina comes in. Nick has to sacrifice himself a second time, but he did find another trade. The Leshrac is gone. A lot of that pushing power, a lot of that threat goes with him. It looks like the cut will hold 2 deaths on the Mars ET, but well, tier 3 is safe. The racks are safe. Nico's actually kind of looking to push forward a bit. Don't know if this is the safest play in the world, but it just goes to show how confident they feel after holding that front line. Oh, they are going for it. Root onto 2. Yuma says, nope, I'm out of here. And that means LTH is just going to be left behind. That's a little bit sad, but he makes it out. Or he doesn't, excuse me. Luna makes it out. Oscar jumps away, and well, I don't know. If you're SG, it feels like you kind of blew it there, right? Aegis goes down for very little. You lose KXY. The tier 3 tower doesn't get taken out. Doesn't even really take half its HP and damage even. Missed opportunity.
They do get the glyph, though, and that does mean that once they do want to get onto the aggressive again, they can just go for this mid tower and then try to set themselves up for more plays. But that's also where KXY just not having his BKB. Also, I think wasting a good portion of his Bloodstone there, where they just simply frostbit him, and then he wasn't able to connect onto anything. He just ended up being, again, a little bit too thin. It's also where I think a plate mail would do him a lot of good, because there is just that much physical damage coming out from the cut. But we'll have to see, because BKBs are actually getting finished up here. Getting very close. Ember just finished his, getting ever so close on that Bristleback as well. And then you've got a timing where the Luna really is still magic damage right now. Right clicks, you know, they're not too shabby, but that's where there's no crit, there's no Daedalus, there's no Silver Edge in Q. So then you probably can just take that team fight. You also just get to straight up ignore KXY. It's where really SG do fall off quite a bit, but that's also where you cannot afford to stick around after the fact. You have to get a clean initiation, kill them in the arena, pop your BKBs, and then run. Because the longer those fights do go on, the more impact you're going to feel from SG's lineup. And they are grouped up like, yeah, they want to smoke here. And they're going up the high ground. See how they break, though. Oscar doesn't have a blink, so he does have to just go in and... Okay.
They want Scourge. They'll hit him with the Pulverize, but over to the east, the Terrorize went down onto KXY, so he's going to be very late to join this fight. And now, Nick comes in. There's going to be the arena, but the Eclipse will be thrown out in exchange. So Nick is dead. Scourge, though, still fighting. Nico in with his own BKB active. They are doing their best to try and get some damage in here, but they're slowly but surely getting pushed back. Nico has to jump away to the Remnant to avoid that damage, but that means Scourge, all alone, getting hit up, getting dropped down. They will lose him. And they just don't have enough. You try and toggle the damage in between Scourge and Nico, but Nico's not tanky enough to do that for long, and the second he had to back out, all that firepower converges on the Bristle.
Yeah, it's where Nick having to buy back from before really hurts, and you just simply pop your BKB if you're Yuma. Even though you're in the arena, all of your damage still goes through, and again, the cut can't stick around after the fact. As soon as those BKBs are gone, they have to escape, and that's why Nico's able to get out, but the Scourge isn't. It's just one of those games, and now once those timers start to get lower and lower, that was your 9-second BKB fight that you still couldn't win. It does not get easier from here. It's where you do need to find a way to just do more damage. I don't know if it's going to be a Basher or an AC on the Bristleback, but any item next is going to have to kind of win the game for you. Otherwise, you're just going to start to fall so heavily behind as the Spidey senses tingle for KXY and he gets out of bottom. There was a pretty big gank trying to set up on him, but that's also where Roche is going to become the next focus. 35 seconds, another relatively quick Roche timer that again, will probably favor SG, just the team ahead. It's where you might not be able to finish off a lot of these items, especially that BKB on Nick in time.
Now this play from Oscar. This has been an interesting one. Want to ask your opinion on it, just sort of like or not like, because it seems like the player base of Primal is still divided on this ag. Some players love it, other players will just absolutely abjectly refuse to pick it up. So what do you think? Because it is some area damage, right?
And break for the Bristleback, which is probably the reason that he goes for it here. And I do like it. I think it is I don't know if it's second item worthy, which I think is the issue that a lot of players have, but I do think that it has its place in every Primal build. I do think maybe the Kai Sanj is something that I personally would prefer just slightly more with how much damage you can do and how limited your mana pool is, but that's where the Ags, especially in this upcoming team fight, is going to be very important. However, though, Roche is alive. They're hitting it. You have a Crystallis now. This is going to die so quickly. And the Cut are not batting an eye. They just weren't able to ever stick their heads out in that top area of the map. They were instead looking for a pick bottom, a pick that did not materialize. So free Aegis, early Roche, get that quickly. They TP in bottom to kill the rats, and they're looking for the rats. But even a BKB force here would be massive. But it looks like they will be able to slink into the trees and escape. But now that the rats are quelled, time to get onto a lane.
Everyone just had to use their TP, so you know they're not going anywhere, although Nico is still dancing around out here. Can they catch him?
So close, actually. Ooh.
LTH, if he had an Aether maybe instead of the Blink, who knows, but... Although, if he didn't have the Blink, he wouldn't have been in position to drop the word in the first place, so... You know, it is what it is. They can't quite catch him, but even Nico now has to fall back, and... Did he actually... There we go. Yeah, Yuma had the shard in his backpack for a while. He had to find the time to actually consume it, but you have the Lucent Beam upgrade here.
Yep, Lucent Beam upgrade. You just picked up an Enchanted Quiver as well. The kind of age-old, really broken combo on this hero whenever you have the old Ag Shard, but you kind of have the old Ag Shard, and now backdoor gone, pushing onto the tier 2. Will die so quickly. Again, they can't pop Glyph here because they need to save it for their tier 3 towers. As bottom lane, some bullying going on, but ends up dying down and back to the objectives. Tier 3 under threat. There's no lifesteal on Yuma, so he actually does need to be careful. Can't take too much casual damage, but there's the break, and
that's a problem.
No.
There's the Eclipse. Someone has to help, but no one's in there in time. Little Nick, he tried, but he popped his own BKB into the arena, so he wasn't actually absorbing any of that damage, and this is starting to get a little bit awkward. They took one kill onto LTH, but he had to go all the way into the back line for that, and it doesn't really help them in terms of the immediate base defense as Pingu's going to buy back. Nick tries for the spear. Onto a BKB target, though, so he immediately gets pulverized and taken down, and they're right back onto the tier 3. The Cut, what do they have? What can they try? I mean, Nico can do some sleight of fish shenanigans, I guess, but that's not enough to take the creep wave away, ET, so SG keep pushing.
Yeah, it's where if you had maybe the Ags, you would be able to just dive past and go
Ooh.
in instead, but yeah,
Nifty
Aegis
play.
might get claimed here, but aside from that, that's your glyph, and that's maybe your time to back out here. He will get stuck, and there is a frostbite there. Needs to get force staffed in a sec, but there's also mech, there's also Wraith Pact, and they got to be careful because right now, Scourge is about to respawn. SG might just decide to leave them in the dust here, and Oscar,
What
okay,
the heck?
dispels himself. Yeah, it looked really awkward with the the onslaught getting canceled, but has the 15 talent, so instead they'll retreat to the high ground. But BKBs are back in like 20 seconds here, so SG don't need to leave, and the cut also can't really go for a smoke. If they do, it needs to be within this 10-second timing. Otherwise, any initiation could just blow up in their face again.
I don't think they've got really the time to get over there as quickly as they need to, but they are going to try and smoke, so here it comes. Four-man smoke with Scourge sort of out in front. We're just going to act as the bait in this scenario, although if you're SG, I don't know if you fall for that bait, right? Why would Scourge be this far out of his base if he didn't have backup? So maybe not the right hero to lead that charge, but at this point, they're still just hoping they run into somebody, but Pingu's going to pop. They do manage to get a blink in. That's going to be the route onto Primal Beast, but Oscar, hey, he's got a BKB. He's just going to TP himself out of here. But they did manage to catch Prada. That'll be a less valuable kill, but it should be a kill for them as LTH.
Oh.
Okay. Stolen Arena. Getting a little bit funky there, and he does die for that arena play, so I don't really know what that was, actually. I mean, he throws the arena down, but KXY and Oscar had already fallen back. Luna's not even in the lane, so this felt a little bit strange. As, okay, KXY is going to force a fight, pushing up onto Pingu. Here comes Oscar in with the onslaught. They're able to take Pingu down. They get Nick as well. Scourge has to pop his BKB, but his teammates are still falling all around him as Yuma picks up 2. And the cut,
Yeah.
it's too far.
Yeah, even though they feel like that's a mistake, KXY didn't even feel like he needed to pop his BKB because he really didn't. Nobody could stand up to him there. And with the angle that Yuma was able to find, just taking off Nick first, no BKB coming out from the Mars, just too much damage. Finished up a full Scotty as well, which is also very problematic. But Yuma was also just pushing in every single creep wave. So now, onto the tier 3 bottom. There's still no glyph. There's no support either. You can't buy back. There's no buybacks available except for on the Ember Spirit, so this will just probably be the bottom lane. Not really anything you can do here. It will respawn in about 4 seconds, but all of SG's lineup is already back up as well. Don't have that many creeps on the Chen, but doesn't really matter because that's a freebie. And now they get to set up for the final lane if they want to. Get to pick up maybe this Arcane Rune on the way out as well, and then the problems are still there that the cut can only really solve from getting a perfect team fight initiation from Nick, and then probably just the follow-up Terrorize, and then hoping that that's enough damage to kill either the Leshrac or the Luna.
And Nick goes, or excuse me, not Nick, Nico goes for a Blink Dagger here, which will give him quite a bit of initiation. And speaking of initiation, they are onto KXY, but there's the BKB, and he's straight up out of there. So, not really going to be able to make any play happen on that front, but I don't know. I mean, this Blink, it's nice for Nico, but it feels like at this point, even something maybe like a Lincoln's or a Lotus might work a little bit better in terms of trying to keep him alive as they try to go on Oscar, but there's going to be the Dispel. Can't dispel that, though. Stunned up by the Spear. Terrorize comes through. And they will be able to find the pick. Pingu, unfortunately, is kind of the one to yoink it away from his teammates there, but a kill's a kill, and they buy some time.
Yeah, got a bit greedy, for sure. Didn't just do the BKB TP out that his teammate had also committed, so not like they were going to immediately fight, but the cut are just running from lane to lane, trying to find punishes on their vision here. And they are all scouted out. Pretty much the entire SG lineup has been seen, but it's daytime. Can they close the gap here before they react? I don't think so. And yeah, what a blink from LTH.
Boy.
Yeah, it's daytime. You're just faster to react. It's just how the map works. And yeah, blows Arena.
Yuma's
Very
walking
unfortunate
into
for
a
Nick.
sentry, though, but it might not matter. He's going to pop the Eclipse. Nick has to activate his BKB, but the physical damage, it's still just hitting him up. There's that Scotty coming into play. Scourge now, his own BKB is in play, but again, he's just getting slowed up. He can't move. He can't heal. He's got to fall back. The Hand of God keeps KXY alive for a few seconds longer. They do eventually finish him off, but what's the cost going to be? Can Nico somehow get away? It looks like he can. That Blink Dagger does eventually come in handy. The problem is Scourge is the primary target. They just kept chasing him, and Yuma finds it. Ultra kill. Nico now... It's nice that he lives, but that's also entirely irrelevant. If he can't now get into the base and he can't TP for 10, they're just going to try to end it right now. Not even bothering with the Mega ZT. They want to win the game.
And Glyph is back up, so maybe he's a little bit more to play with, but he's going to Manta that, then he's going to keep the pressure on, and all they have Glyph left for is the Ancient, but if they don't pop it, they need to buy time, and you have to look at Nick. The Mars has to find something here. They could also just decide to refocus if they get scared, but Oscar still has BKB, pops it. He's going to just try to make space now because Yuma's just looking to end the game.
And Nico got caught on the back line. There's the telekinesis into the Stolen Spear. He's dead. Nick now buys back, but with the Ember gone, I'm not really sure if they can do this. It's Nick and the two supports to pull off a miracle, but the Ancient is falling. About 1,000 health remaining, 700, down to 500, and there's your GG. They realize we are out of time, and ET, they are now out of opportunities. SG 2-0 them, and unfortunately for the cut, they are now at the mercy of whatever tiebreaker scenarios we get.
Yeah, and it's sad again not having B-God in the lobby in the server to maybe come up against a big dog like SG, but SG just also had their number. They had so many good options. They played their draft well. I think again, maybe you have that one opportunity from the cut where you just draft the Lina just a hair before the Bristleback and then hope that that's going to be enough, but it's also just not the way that the cut like to play. They want Nico to be on his Embers and his Pangos, his initiating, playmaker style mid laners. So maybe there's a little bit of uncomfortableness there for him playing Lina and just being more of a farmer for the team. But in doing so, I think you lose one of the best answers versus Lashrak. And let's say they pick Luna in the exact same situation, you also lose one of the best tiers versus her as well. But I don't know. Aside from that, I think SG were just simply the better team today coming into the lobby, and they get a pretty decisive victory and actually surge to first place. They are now one win ahead of Ravens, and of course, Ravens have one more series to play, so maybe Ravens end up being, still the best team at the end of the day, but SG put themselves in a pretty great spot at the end of our group stage here.
Checking in here on our cross table. Ravens own the tiebreaker against SG. So for SG to hold this top spot, they would need Ravens to actually get 2-0'd, which no one's been able to do that so far. So they have first place for now. They are very unlikely to hold it, but still. They got up to 12 wins, and ET, this is 11 straight victories for this SG lineup. I know the narrative that we were focusing on was the cut trying to make upper bracket because that was something a little bit more in flux for this team, which fortunately they now don't reach, but 11 straight wins for SG. I mean, this is just absolutely insane how well they've been playing, and you only hope now that with the group stage over, they don't suffer any sort of hangover, that they take this momentum and continue to play at this level going into playoffs.
Yeah, and if you're the cut, well, you're kicking yourselves for getting 2-0'd by Felt, because those were your two wins probably here, at least with how these other teams have stacked up. And again, still scratching our heads at what happened in that series. But no, SG, very good win for them. Unfortunate for the cut. Of course, they have the advantage at the least over 5-rat 4-staff come those tiebreakers. So again, this is where everything becomes a what-if situation, and we do have to just wait for the rest of the bracket to be filled out. But yeah, not the end of the world for them, of course. No elimination, but maybe not the position they were hoping for.
They have to sit back and wait and see what sort of unfolds, but their own sense of agency has now been taken away. So unfortunate for the cut, but they're still holding on here. They're not nearly in as rough a position as the team that we're about to take a look at here, ET, because we are moving on into that next best of two. It's Team Dog Champ going up against Five-Man Midas, and kind of interesting situations. Dog Champ still have a shot at upper bracket. They've got to basically win out the rest of the way through, but they would then trigger tiebreakers for themselves. Meanwhile, for Five-Man Midas, still looking for their first win with 2 days remaining in the group stage. It's rough for them, but even with that being said, they're not out of the running. They could still avoid elimination, so they have a hell of a lot to play for in that upcoming best of two.
Yeah, and then as we've been hyping up every single day, Belt versus Five-Man Midas, will it be close? Will it be mathematically possible for them to win? Well, they've got to win what feels like their next 4 games today, but I don't know. We'll see, but it's definitely going to be a difficult path forward for them. But I think this is a matchup that they can maybe at least get a game off of Dog Champ with how kind of inconsistent they've been. But again, we'll have to see because they haven't proven anything to us just yet here.
Well, we're going to be moving into that series in just a little bit here. So, Team Dog Champ, they are 2-0 and 1 in the group stage. They are now 1 win ahead of Five-Man Midas. They will be stepping away, but when we return, it is going to be game one between Dog Champ and Five Man Midas. So stick around. We shall see if they can get that elusive first win.